Hello, welcome to the Jake's Tech Stuff YouTube page. I'm Bob Jakes, and the J8X is a clever spelling of my last name. I've been using it for a while. Clever. Yeah, so what I want to do today, if you've seen any other videos that I posted on this channel, okay, great. But what I want to do today is I want to show you my Steamdeck, the handheld device, the Steamdeck, but actually I don't have it. I don't have a Steamdeck. But what you see in the background here is, I'm going to switch to it, is this is the desktop for the Steamdeck. And what I did was I installed the Steamdeck software on a computer, which shows it in the background there. It's a regular standard computer, which I will go into the details of it. And also, I mean, if you see me not having eye contact with the camera, I'm looking at various laptops and computer screens along the way. Yeah, so I'm going to describe what the experience was. This isn't a tutorial. I don't usually do tutorials for stuff like this, mostly, because there are tutorials out there that would be a lot better than what I would do for a tutorial. I'm actually going to also talk about it because it was surprisingly easy to install the software, the operating system, and the Valve Steam software on here. Was surprisingly so. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to take away my screen, and this being the Steam software, you know, how it looks on a Steam Deck. You can actually see that I have my games that I've installed on here. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I do lots of edits, lots of cuts, because I don't use a script. I cut it up if it tends to make sense. I hope it makes sense. I mean, but it's just, you know, I want to get a point across, and if I forget something, I'll go back and I'll add that in. But that's just to explain to you how I work, how I do my work here. If I point us back to the subject here is the Steam Deck, and it was just very interesting to me when I saw on the webs, you know, when I did a Google search for the software that you can use to install the Steam Deck software. It is Hollow ISO. And I downloaded the Hollow ISO image, installed it onto a USB drive, and using the tutorials from GitHub or whoever, basically that's what tells you how to do that. And I burned it USB, and then I installed the operating system on a computer, a nice fresh install. But to explain a little bit, it's a 5-year-old computer. It's with an AMD 2700X processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and it's got an AMD RX 570 8 gig video card, which is it's okay. And this actually plays games fairly well. It may not be a barn burner as far as a graphics card goes, but it's what I had extra, and I may move another one into there and use that just to see if it's any better. I have a different one, but yeah. So I had a computer that's been sitting around for a few years, not knowing what to do with it. I was like, you know, I was going to try to sell it, and I probably will end up doing that. But for right now, you know, I wanted to see if this worked. And that's the point of all this, is it actually did. It worked very well because of the kind of computer it is. There are some people that, you know, have a little different setups for their computers that they try, and they have a little bit of trouble because the hardware is not compatible. So this computer is basically it's made for, you know, something like this, using the software. And the software that you install, actually, the Hollow ISO, you know, setup for your install is actually the Steam Deck uses an Arch Linux, based Linux, and then it obviously installs the Steam application with it. So that had me interested in, you know, Arch Linux to use that. I like to have a computer that that runs Linux. I'm not a Linux expert because, you know, pretty much nowadays you can use a Linux for anything. Internets, you know, yeah, and applications, you can just do word processing, you know, so it's a different world now. And also, I like to have a Linux box or whatever because I like emulation. Emulation, you know, like your computer, a computer being used to run a different kind of operating system. In my case, I like old Amiga computers, and I don't have an old Amiga computer anymore, so I use the emulators, the Amiga emulators, so I can run Amiga software. And some of the old games, Starflight 2 is my absolute favorite computer game, and I like to install that and run it. So that's the reason for having you know, a Linux. And I have, you know, as a result, I have a whole computer now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away this me on the screen here, so you can just see the desktop. You know, the lower right hand corner is me. Actually, I'm going to take me away at some point. What you can do is, obviously, I want to exit the Steam application, and you click on Menu. You go to Power, and you switch to Desktop here. Also, what I want to do is, it just changes over here. Switch to Desktop. It's updating Steam, but that's actually a good plan. Good idea. And yeah, so it updates the Steam. And what else? What I also want to do is actually I'm going to get rid of me here completely, so it's just the screen. And down the lower right hand corner, well, basically, obviously, this also is the Arch Linux / Steam desktop, the Valve Steam desktop here, and it's, you know, you've got your shortcuts that you can basically run the games or whatever you got without the Steam application here. But anyway, so what I have here is I have in the lower right hand corner is there are updates available, and I haven't completely unplanned. But yeah, all of this is, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to cut this all out, but I'm going to actually run the updates just to give you an idea. And that's what I want to do. Let's just run these updates because, you know, and it's just, yeah, once again, it's just to give you an idea of what's going on with this here. So, like I said, this isn't necessarily a tutorial, but also the fact that Arch Linux, which if you install just Arch Linux on your computer, it's basically going to look like this. There are some desktop dressings, you know, for Valve or Steam on this. It actually seems to be going rather well. I don't know if I have to do some editing, but here I am. The version I installed on this, the version of the Hollow ISO image on here, was 3.2. When I installed it, it was January. And it updated, I believe it updated to 3.4. I can go and check that out. But basically, you can download the version 3.4 of the Hollow ISO image of this. And basically, if I haven't explained it before, just to explain, Hollow ISO, or the people who did the Hollow ISO, found a way for you to install, you know, Arch Linux, which is the same Linux as the Valve Steamdeck is, basically, you know, just to explain it really simply. But also what I want to do is actually get rid of my face, and just to finish updating. There you go. Now it's up to date. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually, since you update it, so naturally you're going to restart your computer. So I'm going to restart. It's booting up. I don't know how different the Arch Linux is from this Steamdeck Hollow ISO version. I don't know how different it is. I do know, yeah, I can tell there are similarities, and there are different, like, like I was saying, the window dressing, the way it looks, more test patterns. My capture card or capture device goes to a test pattern if there's no video signal. So it's going to take it a second, a few more seconds, and then it goes right to the desktop. So, and you would just see like a black screen until there isn't anything really to see while this is loading up on your monitor. So now, okay, here we go. Now it's going to load that up. Yeah. So with my screen here, with my desktop, Steam desktop, my application here, well, my game is one of the games is Counter-Strike. I've installed a few of the other ones here, and I want to tell you that I actually am very glad that I remembered to talk about this. If you install games on here that are Windows games, the greatest thing about this is the another emulator that they have to run these Windows games is Proton, and I believe it was a plugin or whatever, an app to install when I installed everything, or it was to check off a box to say yes, install this. But I'm just going to say it was seamless. I installed Windows versions. Like I said, I did this way back in January, and through whatever reason, I haven't done a video until now. There are many reasons why, but yeah. So I don't remember which one is which. But I think Half-Life 2, my version was the Windows version, and it installed it ran a thing for Proton, and it is, like I said, it's seamless. I just installed it, and I ran the game. So that's another thing it's another reason why it's really good. And there were other Linux versions that I installed in here because it has, in the menu to install a Linux version. But yeah, so if I wanted to, and the other thing too is, on the screen you see, it's full screen here. In other words, 1080p. I'm running this at, but on my capture screen on my OBS software, it's not real big. So we'll see how it goes as far as what I'm seeing for stuff. But it'll give you an idea. It's the same thing. Run Counter-Strike, but what I want to do is I want to do a benchmark. So yeah, so I'll run Counter-Strike source. There's the computer layout, yeah. Which I have a gamepad, which I've just had a Logitech, and it works on it. And I wish I grabbed it in the background here, but I actually don't really need it in order to run this. And yeah, what I wanted to do to start off here is to want to run a video stress test. And the reason why the screen size is small, and I won't be able to see the frames per second until I get done recording this video and I can look at this full screen. That'll be both of us. So, video stress test. Begin video stress test, and it does you've seen this before. If you, and I'm gonna cut to the end of this just to, because we don't have to run through all of this, but I'm gonna cut to the end of this so you don't have to see all of it. Okay, so if you can see this, it's like 59 frames a second, 60 frames a second. Now, I don't know what that's a limit for. Is that as fast as it's going to be? And I can try to get a higher frames per second. I'm going to have to wait until I see this full screen. If that's the case, then it might be just 39 frames per second, which is fine. Close this out. But just to give you an idea of how it's going to run, I'm going to switch off me, and we're going to create a server. Okay, and I don't know if the sound is... Oh, I believe it is. Yes, I believe we hear. Auto assign, whatever I'm going to auto assign, and I'm going to bump the screen a few times, probably auto select. I want to try to be able to... There we go. And somebody's going to come along and shoot me, probably. But I want to see if there's tearing on the screen. It isn't the capture screen. There's a bit of tearing and stuff like that. Yeah, there it is. If you can see this when it's recording. But yeah, you get the idea. Be nice to have a gun. If I have a shot at shooting somebody. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't even know if where I'm running or anything like that. Yeah. Disconnect. I'm going to go to options and video. What's the... Okay, so it's the native display on this is 1280 by 720. I don't know. No, I'm not gonna. See, I don't know if it's because of the emulated. If it's going to be 1280 by 720, and I don't know if it's the actual. I have to do some more investigating just to remind myself, and I'll add a note here if I find out, if I remember, if this was Proton emulated or if it was actually running, native to Linux. I think it's a Proton emulated game, the software I installed, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to quit this. Quit game. Go to exit that. And I want to try... Half-Life 2 just to see what that's like. And yeah, got the game device, the gamepad in the background, which, like I said, it does work. Just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. And this is this is still alive. Anyway, so yeah. There we go, and I'm moving forward now. But basically, you get the idea. I don't need to spend too much time on the gameplay of this, but once again, I'm looking sideways at my monitor to be able to play this. But you get the idea if you've played this before. So I'm just going to exit out of here. And I'm going to quit. If you're interested in the Steamdeck, if you're interested in Valve and you're interested in Steam, and the games and Half-Life, what this is not your first rodeo. I do realize that. But I actually just wanted to show you my experience, my personal experience for running my fake Steam Deck. And it was the curiosity, how well is it going to run? Now, I need a game on here to install that taxes this computer. That's what I want to find out. That's what one of my interests here is, to see how useful my computer is still. If not, I'm going to ditch it. I'm going to get rid of this whole thing, because I have this, like I said, I have this fake Steam Deck here, But I have, two other computers that I game on that are fairly powerful. They play all the, the newer games that I have a few of. But I just, I wanted to find something useful for an older piece of hardware, like I said. And once again, just to give you an idea of, I'm going to go to power. I'm going to switch to desktop. And I think was there another update? I don't know. But also, yeah, if you're not so familiar with, how this Arch Linux is set up, this is the desktop, runs all of your obvious Arch Linux stuff, and I've installed a few applications on here. Some of the games or whatever. Yeah, Crisis Remastered. I have to. I haven't yet. I have to see how it runs on Steam. And yeah, so I have your OBS and stuff like that, and Audacity, just to see if I need it or whatever. It's got the internets on it, basically. So I actually find it useful. This is actually, this is a good reason to get this. Is I also have a couple of older computers, that might not run even a game like Half-Life on it because they're too slow for that. But if they're compatible and I can install, even just a simple game or an application, and I can install Arch Linux on this, and if you install Arch Linux by itself, not part of this hollow ISO image, but if you go to the Arch Linux and download that operating system and then install Steam, you get the same stuff. So it's, you can get the same stuff, but you also have to make sure you have all the emulators, as I was talking about before, to install with it. And the hollow ISO installed it automatically, as a part of your, like I was talking about before as well. It's more automatic as far as what it does install for you in order to run the Steamdeck software. With that said, I think I'm gonna end this now. I think that's about it that I wanted to talk about. If I remember something else, I'll make another recording and tack on to the end of this. But I think that's it. I think that's all I need to cover. But you get the idea. I don't need to go into all the details, but I actually recommend that you install it. You find your computer, even if it's your latest whiz-bang computer, which I was considering doing that next, on my fast computer that I play most games on, just to see how that runs. But anyway, so until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you. Hi, I wanted to add a few notes at the end of this video just to go over some things. Now, throughout the video, I've added notes or text or subtitles just to explain some things, but not spend too much time on it. But first of all, this video was recorded back in April, and I just getting around to editing it in June, and this video I'm making now is July. So this is, taking a long time, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just a video about what I was doing with a fake Steam Deck or using the Steamdeck software. I do realize also that this is basically a Steam machine. It was 10 years ago. You could buy or create a Steam machine, a computer with Steam software on it using Linux that you could, run games on and stuff like that. But this is kind of different, obviously. That's kind of the trick of it. And it didn't run well before. I actually tried to install the software for a Steam machine. It didn't go so well, so I just kind of whatever, gave up on it. This machine, well, not this one. This is the editing computer. If you hear a hiss in the background, it is my Hackintosh I'm editing this video on. right there. That's a whole other video if you haven't seen the other ones. Anyways. Yeah, so this was all done. January was when I first built my fake Steam Deck, and yeah, it's gone over the process of making this video. And it's not. I mean, this isn't earth shattering. I realize that it's just my experience with the Steam Deck and being surprised at how easy it was to install everything, and that's why. There are some parts where I forget, it's just like, Half-Life 2 was installed as a Linux application, Linux version of it. I was wondering if it was the Windows version and it's using emulator and stuff like that. Also, Crysis on this machine is running rather slow, actually unusably slow. I think that's whatever. I'll probably spend time trying to figure out why that is. I just installed it and it was like, oh, it installed. And that's the thing about Proton or whatever emulators they use to install your software, your games or whatever. It was remarkably seamless. Like I said that in the video or did subtitles about that. So going back, it's like it's actually running. And there's the whole, when I was making the video, the graphics card I was using, the RX 570, would not clone. It's either the graphics or a setting that I forgot or whatever. So I could not clone and then record the video separately. But the RX 480 that I installed in the Steam box, the Steam Deck computer, you could, and I could record both or whatever. So that about covers it, as far as any additional information that I wanted to share. Unless I forget something, I'll add that to it too. But I don't think so. That was kind of it. It was basically what my experience was in making this Steam Deck computer. So we'll see you next time. Bye.